Trucks built to serve. Here's Jalen Hurts in some recent footage. Coach, I am not a doctor, but I'm willing to make some diagnoses.
Okay.
I think he looks good. Some good news coming out of Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni is optimistic. Take a listen.
Do you have a decision on Jalen if he starts today?
It's trending in the right direction. Again, we're gonna see how today goes. But he's trending in the right direction, and we feel good about it. And but we got to see how today goes. That's why I meet with you guys beforehand, so I don't have to tell you that answer.
Coach, good idea. You don't like that? What's wrong?
No, yeah, look, he's trending in the right direction. I think that he should be trending to not playing, personally. But
so you wouldn't play him?
I just think this, again, not knowing the intricacies of his injury, for him to take a risk of him aggravating it in this situation and potentially not having him for the playoffs, I don't know if that's worth it.
I guess I would feel like if the risk, of course, if he is too unhealthy to play, you don't play him. But I think it would appear to me, based on the footage, based on the fact they thought he might play last week, that let's say
I thought they were not telling the truth.
Let me ask you this: if this were a win and you're in scenario, if this were the Sunday night football game, Eagles win, they're in the playoffs, they lose, they're out of the playoffs.
Then he absolutely plays.
Then he's absolutely playing. Correct. I feel like their goals, though, have superseded that. Their goals are win the Super Bowl. You have the best record in the NFL. He was a leading MVP candidate. If you want to stay on that track, you have to break this streak of awful play with backup quarterback. And now, by the way, Gardner wasn't terrible 2 weeks ago, but the team's defense wasn't good 2 weeks ago. Then nothing was very good last week. And Jalen hasn't played well in 3 weeks, since before the week before the injury. I think there's got to be a way you can get him out there in some capacity, even if there's no quarterback runs, even if it's just as cautious and conservative a game plan as possible, so he can get his feet back under him before he has another week off, because I do believe they're going to get the bye. I think even with Minshew playing, they're going to be able to beat the Giants' backups. It's just such a long period of time that he would be out before he plays his second career playoff game.
I just don't know if he's wired in that way where you can say, okay, we're going to go out and you're only going to do the following things. And then when the play breaks down or there's pressure or something happens and he has to run with the ball and potentially have contact, you can't control that aspect of it. And the things that you outlined, you said the defense hasn't been playing very well. You're talking about things that aren't related to him at all. And you're right. Their goal is to win the Super Bowl. And if you feel like you can win this game without having to put him at risk, why not take the extra week or extra couple weeks to make sure that he's in the best possible physical position to use all of his tools when you're in the playoffs?
Well, Nick is worried about rust for Jalen. Even if they win the game, you think it's a bad scenario.
Yes.
Coach, do you think there's a chance the Giants' backups win this game? Philadelphia is favored by 14 points. We saw the Titans rest guys, and it was a little bit, I don't know if the Cowboys were ever in real danger, but it felt like the backups came out and played a little bit with their hair on fire. Do you think the Giants could actually win this game, a game that they don't need?
I think the Giants are in a totally different situation because most of their backups have started at some point during the course of the season because of how many injuries they've had, and they're playing with a lot of. I mean, there's a much smaller proportion of the team that maybe you'd pull out of this game if you're the Giants than what maybe you traditionally see.
I also think people sometimes don't do the math on what backups actually mean. You have a 53-man roster. You have 7 guys inactive on game day. So, okay, your 7 best players, they're inactive. That leaves you 46 guys. There's 11 on offense, 11 on defense. It's not the NBA where if you're like the final game of the regular season, you're playing guys who never play for you. You know what I mean? Guys that are G League guys. You are going to have some starting offensive linemen in the game. You're going to have all of your.
You have to.
You have to. You're going to have a lot of guys who play regular snaps in the game. So that is, I'm not focused on that part of it. I am focused really exclusively on the Eagles having the best chance of going into the playoffs feeling good about it. But the idea that with Gardner, they just lost to the Saints. Do I think the Saints are dramatically worse than the second-string Giants? Yeah. No, I don't. Okay. And I understand that the Giants don't have anything to play for from a seeding perspective. I don't know Brian Daboll. He does. I bet he's going to be, for the guys who are playing, telling them, this is our divisional rival, and we can ruin things for him. We can knock them down. So I think the Giants are going to play hard. It's another reason I'd want my best players out there.
Yeah, they're going to play hard, but you're also going to have perspective going in the game.
And Jalen Waddle, and see what they can do. I want to see it. So what? What?
You're not feeling
I
it
think
either?
that's like the angel on your shoulder. But what about like this guy?
The devil on my
You look
shoulder?
over, you're like, Tyreek Hill, you missed the playoffs.
Losing 9 times and missing the playoffs,
Well,
and losing 9
you would
times
like-
over the last 3 years.
I
with the
feel like
Chiefs and making 2 Super
there's
Bowls.
some other agenda.
I
there.
know. I just I mean, listen.
Doesn't feel
Tyreek Hill's a
sincere.
great Kansas City Chief, and Chip Wast helped win us the Super Bowl, and I have great appreciation for him. He can always come back.
Oh, look
He
at
can always
that.
come back.
I like that.
He can always.
All right, moving on. Scenario number 2. Browns at Steelers, Sunday at 1. Here's the scenario. The Steelers need to win. The Dolphins need to lose, and the Patriots need to lose. All of a sudden, the Steelers, out of nowhere, into the playoffs. Coach, how scary would the Steelers be if they get in?
I'm not sure how scary they'd be, but they're more compelling than the Dolphins. They've won 6 out of 7. The game that they lost a close one to Baltimore. To me, they're the antithesis of the Steelers from last year, where they've ground their way back into the mix, back into the conversation. So I like that part of it.
Okay, so I don't think they'd be dangerous in round 1 against Buffalo or against Kansas City. For the same reasons I said the Miami thing. If Cincinnati were to end up the 2 seed, Pittsburgh's beaten them once and played them 37-30 the second time. This game was not quite as close as that score indicates. But here's what I want to ask you, Coach. This team is 7-2 with T.J. Watt. You have coached some unbelievable defensive players. I barely believe in quarterback wins. I certainly don't believe in pass rusher wins. But the team, their record's 8-8, right?
Yeah.
So they are 1-6 when he doesn't play, 7-2 when he does play. When you have a defensive player of the year caliber guy, when he's out there, if he's good enough, is it transformative, not just in what his production is, but what everyone else is? Is that what's happening there? Everyone else is getting better because there's so much attention paid to Watt and he still gets his?
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that because you know that he's a guy that can ruin the game. So offensively, you got to skew everything to him. Now, the other guys that are playing along the line with him, they have better matchups, they have better opportunities. Blitzes hit differently. The coverage gets better because the ball's coming out quicker. So adding a player like that to the mix, it does make everybody else play better. And it's also the just knowing he's there and his attitude, his relentlessness, that also helps out.
Even, and just lastly, quick, even if they don't make it because the Dolphins win or the Patriots win, if Mike Tomlin keeps the never been under 500 streak alive this year, when they start, whether they start 1-5 or 1-5 or 1-6 or 2-6, it will be with a rookie quarterback who has like 6 touchdown passes on the season. It will be as impressive of a coaching job. He got the Steelers were so dead last year that Big Ben did a farewell in the stadium. Remember that? And then he had to come back and play another game that he didn't want to play. It was better than a bye, of course. However, Tomlin doing this with this quarterback play the last 2 years is a remarkable feat, whether they get in or not.
Patriots in Buffalo, final scenario.
What's their
If Mac Jones can win, he's in. And will be going to the playoffs back-to-back. Now, Hubs has it told me to call for this full screen.
Oh.
You know what? Fool me once.
What?
Shame on you. Fool me 17 times in the last 3 weeks. Shame. Hobbs, can you show the playoff scenario for the Patriots? We beat Buffalo, we're in. Also, the other scenario, if the Dolphins, Steelers, and... see, Hobbs...
It's still.
How did you know it was coming?
still
We haven't done it in a week and a half.
Here's why. Because I'm supposed to...